It's nice to bring it out in daylight like this, you know, in sun like this, I should say, because I'll be able to see if the camera's got any light leaks at all. I haven't tested for that yet, so I'm pretty much shooting blind without testing if it's got any light leaks. Is it the camera that's got light leaks? What on earth happened? I know what happened. What do you think happened? Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about this little beauty, the Zenit B 35mm SLR camera from the Soviet Union back in the late 60s, early 70s I think this one was produced. And this was sent to me by a subscriber called Phil. Phil had watched my previous video on the Praktica Super TL camera, and he messaged me and said you might like this camera as well. So he sent me this camera to keep. So Phil, if you're watching, thank you very much. And here it is. It's in absolutely mint condition as well. And it came with this case. Look at the case, look. That's absolutely insane. It's like a brick. I don't really use these. I don't keep my cameras in these cases. I store these cases elsewhere because I'm using the cameras all the time, chopping and changing. But look at the size of the case. It's nuts. And I'll put it back. And Phil said that he got this camera back in the 1970s from his brother's catalogue back in the day. So I'm going to take my very first few shots here on this footbridge that goes all the way down the bottom there to the harbour. This is Newtown Creek. Look how beautiful this place is. There's no one around, just me and a bit of nature and that camera. I'll put the 24mm lens on to start off with because I want to get this nice and wide. I've never shot this on a 24, so we'll give it a go. And it's absolutely freezing down here. Oh. Right, let's set this camera to 1/60th of a second. We'll go at f8. I'm using an orange filter, so I've got to account for a couple of stops. So let's take a few shots down here. I'll show you these shots as we go along. I need to come up just as you can see that little boathouse at the end. 1/60th, I better be steady. Oh. See what I mean? I've got different ways I can take this shot. Down here is no good, you can't really see nothing in the background, so I need to come up just so we can see a trickle of the background there, like so. But I don't want to give the sky too much dominance because there's nothing up there at all. There's no clouds, nothing exciting, so I need to come round and put the foreground or the bottom into the lower 2/3 there, a little bit like that. There's not much going on up in the sky at all, so I'm not going to give that most of the show. I'm going to give most of the show to the woodwork and going beyond up to the boathouse back there. Blimey, it's bloody cold. So there's quite a lot of history behind these Zenit cameras. I must admit, I've never really bothered with the Zenit brand before. Obviously, I knew they were around, but I'd never really fancied getting my hands on one. So I had to do a little bit of research about the Zenit camera, where it came from, and a little bit of the history about it. And it is quite interesting. I wrote a blog recently on my website, and I put a link to some information that I found very interesting, so maybe you guys will as well. And I always love to know the history of these cameras that I've got, you know, because they're so old. It's worth knowing, and it's great for us because we can just jump online and research to our heart's content. I've done a little bit of researching on this, and after World War II there was a company that was basically making optics, and it was in Russia near Moscow, and the company's name, I'm sorry if I butcher this guys, if I offend anyone, Krasnogorsky Mechaniches, you know, Krasnogorsky Mechanicheski Zavod. Did I sound Greek? No, I didn't. Did I? I don't know. Which was a factory near Moscow, and they were producing optics at the time, and then they thought, you know what, let's get into the camera market. This seems to be exploding at the moment, and they came out with a camera called the Zorky, which was pretty much like the Leica 2 or the Fed. If you know them Fed cameras, a Fed 2, I've got one of those, pretty much like that. And in 1952, they brought out the Zenit brand, and they made a Zenit camera, which was pretty much similar. And I guess from then on, Zenit went from strength to strength producing cameras, and they came out with this Zenit B around the late 60s, early 70s, and they produced nearly 900,000 of these things. I've got the exact figure actually online. It's amazing what you can find online. 889,617 of these cameras they produced. give or take a couple, between 1967 and 1979. And I know that these were quite popular because in the UK we've got a store called Argos, which is like SFLaB high catalogue sort of shop back in the day, still going today of course, and they used to sell these Zenit cameras. And there's also another electrical store called Dixon's, which also used to, I remember selling these cameras. I remember at the time as a kid seeing them. And this was £49 in Argos back in 1984. So relatively inexpensive camera for people to get into photography. Not like my last video talking about a Praktica. Yeah, the Praktica Super TL. Was that a professional camera? Was professionals using it? I can't imagine the pros would have been using a £50 camera back then. They would have just been laughed at, no doubt, but also reliability as well. But were these things reliable? This one seems to work really well, and Phil's had this all these years, so you can have a little listen to it. Listen to that little mirror slap on it. It sounds cute as well. It's nuts to think that this camera is as old as me. It's probably older than me actually, but it's nice to bring it out in daylight like this, you know, in sun like this I should say, because I'll be able to see if the camera's got any light leaks at all. I haven't tested for that yet, so I'm pretty much shooting blind without testing if it's got any light leaks. I've looked at the seals, they look okay, but we'll soon see. Nice bright sun, that's going to leak into this camera right now if it has. But if it has, there's no problem. I've just wasted a few shots of film and light seals are no problem to fix. It's quite nice over there if I can get off the path over into that marshy bit and get there. We've got the water coming in, which is quite nice, those posts. That might make a nice shot on that 24mm wide. Let's see if I can get over there. I've got some sensible Colbor on. Oh, it's a bit muddy though. Ah, that's quite nice, this little scene. I've shot this before, but not on 24mm, so I'm going to try this one now. Get this shot in the bag. 1/25 at f11. And don't forget I've got that orange filter on for the darken the sky a bit. Done. I'm going to take one more in portrait mode. The only thing with this camera, the viewfinder, there's nothing to focus with, it's just a blank screen. So your eyes got to be pretty spot on to get focusing, but most of this stuff's at infinite anyway. Let's get back to the story of the camera. And there's no frills or spills on this camera like most of these back in the days. No auto, nothing, no nonsense like that. It's just look through that. You can look through the lens, the viewfinder, and through the lens, and you can get your focusing that way through the lens focusing. There's no light meter inside. There's no autofocus, nothing like that. It's M42 screw fit mount, which is fantastic because there's a ton of lenses out there with the M42 screw fit mount. Some are really cheap and good as well. And it's got shutter speeds for 1/60th of a second to 1/500th of a second, which is ample if you want to do street photography with one of these cameras. You don't need anything slower than 1/60th or anything faster than 1/500, depending on what you want to shoot. This thing is absolutely solid. It just feels so well built and different as well. It's, you know, it's just got its own little quirkiness to it. For example, the shutter speed dial on the top, it's still got that sort of Fed 2 look, which I like. As you advance the camera, the shutter speed dial spins with it. Be careful though, because apparently if you change shutter speeds while it's advanced, it might mess up the mechanism inside. So when you change shutter speeds, make sure the camera isn't cocked. It's got a nice timer on the front. Pull it down, advance, and you've got the little button there that you press. There goes the timer. If you want to do a selfie, hurry up mate. There you go. Still going off. Let that go to the end. The frame counter window as well, that's not automatic. You have to set the frame counter, so when you put the film in and you get to frame number 1, or what you think is frame number 1, you then select number 1 on there, and then as you go through your shoot, it will turn to 2, to 3, to 4, etc. And you've also got your little tiny dial here just to remind you of what your film speed is inside. The back of the camera, if we open it up inside, That looks completely robust as well. When you're looking at it, it looks kind of aggressive. It sort of screams at you. It's got a cloth or silk curtain as well. You don't have to worry about getting pinholes in it though, because the mirror's there in front to protect you from if you leave your lens pointing at the sun for some reason, like I did with the Pentagon video in the summer. I left the camera staring up at the sun accidentally while I was chatting away into the vlogging camera, and I burnt a bleeding pinhole in the back of the curtain because that mirror doesn't protect it. There's no hot shoot, it's just a cold shoot. If you want to use flash, you've got your little flash port at the front of the camera there. Underneath the camera it says made in USSR, and on the back of the camera there it's got the serial number, and the serial number, the first two numbers of the serial number denote which year it was made in. This is 72, so this is a 1972 camera. And this lovely composition, this snaking going on. If I can try and get that. Unfortunately the sun is behind me today, my shadow's there, so I'll have to be careful with that. But on this 24mm lens, it'd be nice to see how that comes out. I hope these exposures are coming all right. I've got a light meter on me, but I'm just going by the Sunny 16, so I'm shooting 1/25 of a second at f11 with that filter on. So this looks nice. Get down lower. Focus right on that beach hut in the background, boat shed rather. Gotcha. And I think sometimes these are really good cameras for beginners to learn film photography, that is. I wouldn't say so much photography in general, because, you know, they might get impatient, they can't see what's going on at the back. But for people jumping over to film, they're pretty inexpensive with the lenses as well, like the Praktica that I was talking about the other day, and all basic as well. You know, you've got to do everything yourself. You've got to do your light metering yourself, and you do your focusing yourself. It's not autofocus, so it's a nice camera. These cameras are nice cameras, a bit like the, you know, this CANON CS that I've got here as well. At the moment, that's got a Hanimex lens on. Again, fully manual camera. I find joy in shooting these cameras. It just makes you think a little bit more about what you're doing, and when you get your negatives back and you've done your exposure right, you've done your focusing right, you're elated. You know, you feel excited that you've actually achieved something through film photography. This thing is in absolutely mint condition, and Phil also gave me a couple of lenses. He's gave me this Industar 150mm, which he said came with the camera, or he got with the camera, which is a f3.5 little lens, and also he gave me a 24mm Hoya lens as well, which I'm really excited about shooting. This is multi-coated lens. It says HMC, which means Hoya multi-coated. This is the widest one that I've got. My other lens is, I think the widest I've got is 28, other than pinhole. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what I get down Newtown Creek, having a bit more wider lens to use on the camera. So I'm going to get these cameras packed in my bag, say tickety-boo to you lot, and I'll see you down at Newtown Creek. Let's do that thing that the youngsters do. Has it worked? It ain't worked, has it? Come on! It worked! Brilliant! Look at that, I'm a youngster all of a sudden. Nice little scene here, that little boat. This is nice and wide. I like this 24. This is nice and wide. I've got a little bit of rockery that side. I'm going to come on this side just so I can see the boat and a bit of land in the background. So I just took a couple of shots of this boat. One was from over there straight onto the boat, and the next shot I decided to get this rusty old linkage stuff in. Maybe it's a boat hoist or something. I kind of got that sort of composition there. So we're bringing something into the shot, and the main subject is the boat. This is in the foreground, right in your face, but your eye is just being taken away from that onto the little boat. So guys, what I'm going to do, you know where I am, you know what I'm shooting. I'm going to show you the rest of the photographs that I take. I'm sorry, but I've got to put this vlogging camera back in the bag. My hands are freezing, they're like ice blocks, where I'm carrying the tripod for the GoPro and carrying this metal camera as well. My hands are literally turning, they're getting numb. So I'm going to do as minimal effort and concentrate more on the photographs. That way I can put my hands in my pocket instead of walking around with a GoPro. So I hope you understand. I'll show you some of the photographs that I'm taking at the moment. I should be able to get some nice ones. I'm also going to use that 50mm lens there as well, the Industar. So I'll let you know which ones I take on the Industar. Look, I've come out of here out the way of the wind. It's the wind. It's blowing right into me, and my hands have just gone like numb, completely numb. What a wimp. Look at this, guys. This is how bad photography can get sometimes. You can get black eyes, especially if you're out on the street with your camera. Anyone know what this is? I don't know, I've got some sort of weird rash coming up on my eye. I hope that doesn't get any worse. If it does, I'll have to wear an eye patch in the next video. Let's get on with this, the rest of this video. Light leaks again. What did you guys think them light leaks were? Do you think they were coming from the seals? Let us know. I'm going to tell you what they are anyway. I know exactly what they are and what happened when I was changing lenses halfway through the shoot. I accidentally pulled the back open, and it's this little tiny catch here on the camera itself. To open the back, you've got to pull the catch, pull it out. To close it, you've got to close it and then push the catch back in. As I've pulled this camera out my bag changing lenses, it's caught on something and it's pulled the latcher open a little bit. So when I had it in my hands, I noticed the latch was doing that. And straight away I thought, oh crikey, so I've quickly closed it and shut it. And I thought, I just thought it was so bright down there, I thought I've lost all of what I've taken so far. Obviously, a lot of it's protected maybe inside the take-up spool, but I did have a bad feeling that I'd lost quite a few frames. So I was quite excited when I developed the film and noticed that I only had a few with them leaks on it. I mean, one of them was that strange, that one in the middle. I couldn't figure out what that was at all. It was like some sort of spaceship halo thing going on. So it's strange, isn't it, what happens with film, you know, when light hits it accidentally and you sort of see the results. I think that's how Man Ray got his solarization idea when his wife came into the darkroom. He was developing a negative. She saw a rat running across the floor. She flicked the light on and screamed, and he went, "Turn the bleating light off, love." And that's what he's commonly known for, this solarization. So accidents happen, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Didn't happen anything good for me this time. But what about the camera? It performed really well. I'm glad to say there ain't no light leaks other than you know, clipping the back open accidentally, but there's no light leaks. The camera's light proof, so that's really pleased me. The shutter speed seemed to work as well. I tried 1/60th and 1/25th on my photographs, and they seem to work really well. Of course, I've got to do a proper test with the shutter speeds, maybe shoot the camera at a wall and just go through a few frames. There's only 5 shutter speeds on there in a bulb mode, so that's not hard to do, but I think they're all working fine. All the mechanics seem to work fine, the timer works fine, so I've got a really nice camera here, and it looks like Phil has really looked after it over the years. And it's quite interesting because there'll be people that are saying they had bad experiences, and people are going to say they're awesome if they've had a good experience. So it's, you know, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Let us know in the comments if you have had one of these cameras or a Zenit camera, what your experiences are with the camera. This one has seemed to have proven the test of time, and I'm looking forward to shooting more of this camera in the future. You'll notice that the last few photographs that I took, I only shot half a roll of FP4 from a bulk load. So the last few shots I showed you was from the 50mm Industar lens, and that I shot that at f/16, and because I didn't have the orange filter on it, but I found that lens to be really good. The negatives came out nice, the images came out nice as well, nice and sharp. So I'm not going to sit there and nitpick onto it and, you know, put a magnifying glass on it. From what I could see, there was no problems with this little tiny lens. And also the 24mm lens surprised me, because usually if I'm shooting a 28mm lens, I've got a Nikon 28mm, the horizons, if I've got a horizon in the background, it kind of bends a little bit, so kind of arcs, and you have to try and correct that in the darkroom or in Photoshop, which is not a problem. This one didn't do it, I noticed. I didn't do any correction at all with the arcing in the background, so I was really surprised with that. Like I said, guys, let us know in the comments if you've had any experiences with the Zenit cameras. Did you have one in the past? Have you still got one? Is it your favourite camera? Is it the worst camera you've got? Let me know in the comments for me and others to read. We're always interested in reading people's stories. Thanks very much for watching. My next few videos are probably going to be on medium format, but maybe we've got some real crap weather coming our way in the UK. Apparently today was the last sunny day we're going to get for a couple of weeks. When does a weatherman ever get it wrong? So I'm going to intend to get onto medium format over the next few videos, so keep an eye out for them. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you next time.